it's one of these things that, yeah, it's tough to really do it justice, because the volume of things that our legal researchers had to review, read, and understand to put those together it's thousands and thousands and thousands of hours just to create a starting point, and then it's thousands and thousands of hours to maintain everything. And it's very I think for a person that arrives to the platform, to the HR Law Made Easy platform, that sees the checklist, like, oh wow, those are really cool, but what's missing is, yeah, that's really cool on the, the blood, sweat, and tears of an entire army of legal research done. But anyway, it's a thing. It's definitely a thing.
What's wild to me is that you have these other sites who promote like, oh, we've got thousands of this or thousands of that, but no one ever says like, hey, we actually have the list of things you have to do. Mm-hmm. That is a really interesting point, because it is very difficult to compile that list.
Well, right? That's really telling. If you see somebody, we have over 1,000 HR laws. Well, how many are there? Be transparent.
Yeah.
How many don't you have yet?
Well, I don't want to focus on that, because on top of even just having all those laws, because they come from hundreds of different places, locations, like, you got city level, you got county level, you got state level, you got federal level. And then on top of that, our team went through and identified all this stuff so that you can build these checklists tied to those different locations. So you've got a branch in, or your business is in this particular city, and this city has specific rules and laws tied to this. We don't worry about the ones that aren't tied to your location. You only have to follow the ones on that checklist for your location, which is incredible.
100%. Did you know that most people get confused when HR compliance comes up, because they don't really even understand what those words mean? And it's not because they're stupid. It's a phrase that's used to describe the process of making sure your company is following all the required HR laws, because compliance simply means following the law. And of course, HR compliance then means following the HR laws. And the reason that it's even further confusing is not just that the HR compliance phrase is confusing, is that there's so much of a commingling of the things that you're legally required to do with the things that you're not legally required to do. Mm-hmm. And they all just get thrown into a bucket or to a discussion or to-do list. And without the compliance checklist, no one previously had organized it in a way where you could clearly see, hey, here's the optional stuff. Like I really want to do this training with my people to improve communication in the workplace. And that's a great thing, but that's not legally required. But HR is really focused on it. Well, let's time out, pause. Before we dive into all this optional stuff, can we please make sure that we've done all the required stuff? Like, can you show me the list of the required things? Like, Dev, we've done all those first, right? Because that really is step one, is making sure that we're following the law. Because it truly is the thing that trips up companies. It's the thing that gets them sued. It's the thing that leads to settlements. It's almost never that the company did the discrimination thing or the harassment. I'm not saying that those things don't happen, but it's rarely that it actually happened. It's more often that something happened that was maybe close to that. An employee got super upset and company wasn't following the law. Bam, $75,000, $100,000, $150,000.
Yeah, Sean, you actually have the amount, because I think like it's interesting. Like when you see this type of stuff in the news, you hear about the real discrimination, and you hear they settled for $1 million. But when you actually hear the real number of all these lawsuits you never heard about because a policy was missing, or in Tara's example, like the policy was too long and too complicated. What is that number, Sean? It's ridiculous.
Did you know that in 2024 there was nearly $2 billion paid in employee settlements and lawsuits in the United States alone?
$2 billion in the U.S.
Which then gives the next question: how much of that was like proven, and how much of that was just alleged?
According to the information that is published online, and there's some funny math here, so you have to recognize that it's not 100%, right? But truly, the statistics as they're laid out point to the fact that almost 90%, if not more, of all claimed employee lawsuits of any type result in a settlement. It never goes to court. Now, the reason it doesn't go to court usually is because the company doesn't want the public embarrassment or the humiliation, or even more importantly, the cost. So here's the extortion component of it. And I lived this in one of my previous companies, so I can speak from experience. In order for my company to have gone to court to defend ourselves, it would have cost us about $250,000. The settlement amount was less than half of that. So I could either settle, pay less than half of it, or pay $250,000 and potentially win the case and feel good that I won, having paid $250,000.
Not quite the win that most people expect.
It's not a win at all. It truly isn't.
It's a loss.
And it's why people use words like extortion. It's why they get so angry and frustrated over this topic. And it's just not talked about a lot.
Yeah.
No.
I think you guys made some really smart points in the episode that we just filmed about like intention, right? So it's not necessarily the intention to be unclear in your policies in your workplace, or it's definitely not the intention, I'll say 99.9% of the time, to make it a not great workplace for your people through lack of policies or lack of a handbook or not following the rules. The intention, though, doesn't hold up in court. So, for example, I spoke with somebody here in Oregon that works for a business just recently. There are like around 25 employees in this business. It's a growing company, but obviously people are holding multiple hats. So the owner runs the payroll. Coming into the holidays, the owner was taking some time off. Everybody got a surprise paycheck 5 days ahead of schedule. And in looking at those pay stubs, they were like, hang on a second, this doesn't cover our whole pay period, though. They're hourly employees. And so the owner's intention here was to get the paychecks out to his people before he went on vacation. And those last few days of the pay period, we're just going to tack it onto the next pay period. That is completely illegal. There, you have to be paid for your time that you've worked within those set pay periods. There's a law in Oregon that requires employers to set a regular pay schedule and adhere to it, unless you have agreement in writing from your employees ahead of the fact that you're going to change the pay period for that cycle. None of that was discussed. It was just, hey, here's a surprise paycheck. Everyone's excited they get paid. You're missing those hours. That can create, not only are you messing with people's livelihood and their money and their budgeting, but that can create huge problems when it comes to the legal side of things. And his intention was good. His intention was just, I want to make sure my people are covered before I take a little break. But it opened up the door for huge legal implications.
And it's super brutal because he's probably an entrepreneur. He's doing the best thing for his people. He's trying to make sure people get paid. Like, what an awesome, noble idea to make sure his people get paid for his company. And he's doing it all. And then he's going to get in trouble for, quote unquote, doing what he thought was right. It's messed up.
Yeah.
If only he had some sort of checklist.
Right.
Yeah. If only there was a list of things that they should be doing. And it's geez. Yeah. So let's talk about like the checklist. I know some of you have spent time in them. Some of you have spent less time in the checklists that are in the platform, but some of these checklists, so it was surprising to me how long they are. And that's not to feel overwhelming, but I think it's really it was eye-opening for me. I mean, as an attorney, because I went to law school and studied all that stuff. As a lawyer who spent years doing legal research, and I've looked at different checklists for different parts of a company, whether that's accounting or some other part of the company, and then come into the HR space. And some of these checklists, depending on the state, depending on the number of localities and so forth, they can be hundreds of individual things long. Mm-hmm. This isn't like, you need a checklist. Well, we don't really. It's only like 20, 30 things. No, it's like hundreds with an S of things long. And it's not all policies.
Yeah,
it isn't. And sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was, not to be a broken record, but I wanted to touch on one piece that we had there about ChatGPT generating policies, but also along these lines, ChatGPT generating like, what should I do? Here, it give you this nice, very good sounding checklist. But as we've pointed out, ChatGPT and other AI models can only use what data they've got to generate what they've got, and they don't have all of those HR laws in them. and they don't have the application of those laws in them. They certainly don't have the most recent versions of any of this. So there's no way for them to generate something that's actually going to give you an answer that's anywhere near accurate or legal. So it just, probably each week we do this, I'm going to, make a reminder. AI can make it look really professional and look really cool, and it's in no way going to actually help you.
Right.
Could get you into a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Scary for so many small businesses too, that I just think of that are like, they have no idea. They threw their aunt into this role to help out because they don't have anybody, not realizing how important it is and how many, like you said, the checklist, the policies, all the things that somebody has to have in place that, they're one lawsuit away from just probably going under their whole livelihood of the business they've created and they're trying to run, to just losing it all. And it's sad and scary how
All
important
while
this stuff is.
the best of intentions, right?
Yes.
While
Yes.
having happy people and really a good workplace for people, but you're not getting all of those laws followed.
Yeah, and this goes back to what you were talking about, Lindsay, which was, it's like trying to take a test you never studied for. It's completely wild to think like, okay, here's a list, this checklist of hundreds of items. And if you miss one, someone like a recovering billboard lawyer will come for you and they'll find a way to grab your money. And it's important to note that HR Law Made Easy did not make the laws. We made the checklist so you could follow the laws.
And that is the idea, right? To give that lifeline, to not just give you the doom and gloom of, well, it's terrible and scary and you're probably going to mess it up. It's very much a, hey, we got some light for you to get out of the cave.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and what's so funny to me is that there are so many organizations that promote tools or things that they make available with the intention to help an organization get compliant with HR laws or HR, right? HR compliance gets thrown around a lot. And there's companies like Bambee or ADP's got their own. A lot of the payroll companies now have their own. You pay a little bit more money and they give you some things that are intended to get you there. But none of these organizations have checklists. And we know because we've looked at the software, we work with companies that use these platforms, and their list of things that they're doing has big gaps in it. So like step one is you got to go through the checklist and identify, just as just as a starting point, like where am I at? Like what have I done and what haven't I done, right? And now you've got a snapshot of like your current state compliance. Like, and when I say state, I don't mean like your location. I mean like the actual state of, or like what's your compliance level. Then from there, there's the list of things that need to get knocked out or done. Usually 40 to 50, 60%, depending on where you are policies, but the rest are not policies. These are required notices and posters, a giant pile of other things in terms of procedures and documents and backup, and what happens when someone requests military leave. How do you respond to that? What's legal? What's not legal? And in these other platforms, there is just it's either not covered at all, or it's just like omitted, right? So the beauty of the HR Law Made Easy system is you don't just have the checklist, but you also have like connected to it everything you need to do the thing on the list, right? If I've got somebody that requests leave, here's how you respond to it. If you're approving it, here's how you respond to it. If you're disapproving it, here are the rules when you can, when you can't. So it's not just removing the guesswork as to what to do. It's also empowering companies with like the things to actually do it. And that's what's been so shocking to me is websites like, Bambee's a great example. You go on their website publicly. I'm not telling you anything that isn't public, right? You look right there and they promote that you get, I don't know, a half a dozen or 8 or 10 or 15 policies. There's not a single state in the United States, not a single location in the US where 8 policies creates a compliant handbook. Nowhere. And AI isn't going to get it right. And these other handbook builders or tools, or I don't know, whatever they're called, depending on who you're buying it from, whether you're using an ADP or Paychex or whoever it is, some of them do an okay job of getting you close, But again, with HR compliance, close isn't enough because it's the one mistake that the lawyer exploits to sue you.
100%. This reminds me of those Rocket Money commercials, right? Where they go to the people and they're like, how many subscriptions are you paying for monthly? And they're like, oh, I think 3. Actually, you're paying for 45. How many policies do you have to follow in your location? I don't know, 40. Try 200. Like, surprise. It's a lot more than you expected.
Yeah. And it's also the other things that, outside of just the policies that catch people by surprise is not even realizing that a simple email response or a verbal communication can break the law because you don't know what you don't know. Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And that's what's so amazing about HR Law Made Easy is that it makes it easy to know the law. And then you have the tools and resources right there to ensure that you're following it and that you're compliant with it. And to be very candid, when we brought our own company into the platform, I got a huge checklist of things that I needed to do that I was not yet doing. And it was that moment of like, oh my gosh, how did we miss these things? Because we didn't have what we've built with HR Law Made Easy. We didn't have everything in one place and a simple checklist to go down and make sure we're covering everything that needs to be covered. And now it feels so, so good to just know that it's all there. We're compliant.
Yeah.
And then you can actually start focusing on the things like communication building and stuff like that because your foundation's done. You did it's really cool. We know
where we stand, and now we can like put together some team building activities and not worry about spending more time trying to find an updated law and hoping that I find it before it gets updated again,
Well, and it's also a bit of a joke, when you take a job with a company and you realize that the company isn't following the law, they're not doing the right thing, and you remember, the place you used to work, well, they used to do this, this, and this. How come this company doesn't do it, right? Mm-hmm. And you're just asking to be sued. I mean, you're basically, you were telling every new person that comes in, hey, by the way, all this stuff that we're not doing that you probably did before is just like memories for them to think about if something goes wrong. It's funny because I go to a lawyer and the lawyer's like, well, tell us what happened. Well, this, and this. And then the very next thing you know, they're saying, well, yeah, and every other company I worked for, they had these things we did, and this company had none of them. Is that right? And the lawyer instantly is like, you know what? It's not right. And that's going to help us get a settlement. Because even if I can't prove whatever it is you're telling me happened, I can prove that they didn't follow the law. And that's all I need to do to convince their lawyer to cut you a check for $100,000.
Yeah. Yeah. It is really interesting what you think that lawyers or what angle you think they're going to take, right? I have a friend that was in like a personal injury case, and it came down to, is the medical insurance company going to pay for the doctor's visits, the hospital stay, all of the stuff in this? Well, when you signed up for that plan, were you given a full explanation of benefits or a one sheet that showed you kind of the basics? That employee had never been given the full explanation of benefits, so they didn't have those little nuances of, well, if I get hit by a car driven by my grandfather on his 80th birthday, then you aren't going to cover it. And so those little details, obviously that's just a horrible example, but those little details of the plan were never clearly laid out for the employee who signed up for that medical plan. And that was the lawyer's way in there of like, you guys have to cover this. You never told them that you wouldn't. You have it written somewhere in a back closet. This was never put in front of the person who signed up for this plan.
Yeah.
Compliance is a beautiful thing. It's beautiful.
It is a beautiful thing. And you just think about where checklists successfully get used in life. There's not a single flight that takes off anywhere, whether you're in a helicopter or a plane, or it doesn't matter what, prop plane, jet plane, helicopter, any flying vehicle, at least in the US, has got a checklist that the pilot follows every single time they go to take that piece of equipment off the ground. And the reason that they have that checklist is to make sure nothing gets missed, right? Mm-hmm. People's lives are at risk, right? Mm-hmm. And it's no different. Like as an employer, and it's my favorite when we're talking to companies is I talk to an executive who looks at me and they say, I want to do this because it's the right thing to do, or I want to do this because I want to protect my company. Like they instantly get the value of what it is that they are receiving, which is, not just the checklist, but then all the tools and resources as well as if they want to have our team come in and assist to get compliance done right. You know what I mean? And that's such a great conversation. The most painful one is where the person realizes, I'm not following the law, but I haven't been sued lately, or I haven't been sued. And I mean, it doesn't seem like a big deal. And like, I don't know. I mean, it'll probably be fine. And I've had at least a half a dozen situations where that was a conversation. Months later, they get sued, and there they are. If I had just done this, like, and it's like, dang, like, and I get it. I mean, I get that some people may feel like, well, this isn't a financial priority right now because, it's something that I don't think is a big deal. I totally understand that point of view. It's the law. Like, you're breaking the law, your company, its reputation, every person that works inside of it, their families, their grandparents, their kids, their friends, all of whom rely on them in some way financially. Like, you are putting all of that at risk because you're not wanting to actually follow the law? ? Like, did you trip and fall on the way to work today? Like, what happened? Like, why? It actually breaks me when I'm on a call with somebody and they're like, well, yeah, I mean, I get that it's the law, but like, especially because they'll say things like, yeah, I know we're not really following the law, but like, it's like, oh, it's so
Or
bad.
the people who, it's
This
not
is
going to
why-
happen to me. Nothing's going to happen to me, and
This is why they don't drive helicopters, because they don't use checklists. Yeah, I know I didn't do the checklist, but we'll be fine. I've flown this thing before.
And the irony is, many of these organizations have got incredible checklists for delivering to their customers, or the things that they do to make sure that they don't miss specific things that they're delivering to their customers. I mean, these are not bad people. These are not bad businesses. They're just bad decisions in the moment. It's I don't want to pay money to follow the law. Well, then you're just not going to follow the law.
Right. And you had mentioned, like, sometimes these checklists are long, hundreds of items, and that can be a scary thing, but it's not here to, make your company bulletproof and take the humanity out of it and just, be by the book following the law. It's here to protect the company. It's here to protect the employees. It's here to protect everybody. And you'll find that once you have that checklist all checked off, you don't have to change the way that you are necessarily running your company or the relationships that you have with the people within your business. You're just being compliant now.
Yeah.
In some instances, of course, there is change, but it's that instance of, like, you're not changing how you care about your people. You're showing even more care by putting those protections in place for the business and the employees both.
And did you know that HR Law Made Easy doesn't just have a checklist of all the things you need to do, but it also has an entire team that you can bring in, review all of the current things that you're doing, tell you whether or not you're compliant with those laws or rules. And then anything that needs to be done, you can have that same team, our team, come in and fix all that for you. So you've got two options. You can software. I'm going to access the software. Thank you for giving me a checklist. I'm going to get somebody in my team to do this. Or, well, I don't really have time right now to handle this, so I don't really see any point in, well, great. Then just have our team come do it for you. It by the way, it takes a team. Like, you can't do this in any reasonable amount of time without a team of people that are actually confronting, looking at, tackling compliance to get everything from the starting point to full compliance. For our team of professionals with attorneys and HR experts, it can take anywhere from 3 to 8 months to get it all set up correctly within our organization, depending on the size of the organization and the scope. And it's because it takes a lot of work. So we are totally willing to come in for those that are committed to following the law, for those that care about their people and don't want to get sued, for those that don't want their business to fall apart because they buried their head in the sand and decided to just be illegal. We can come to those organizations and we can do all of that for you in year one. You can have us set it all up for you. And once it's set up, we can then hand the steering wheel or the controls, if it's a helicopter, over to you. And you can fly smoothly going forward with automatic updates. But so it's not like we're going out to folks and saying, hey, we have these checklists, have fun storming the castle, at which point the person's like, well, it's a lot of money and time and I don't have time, right? We are totally willing to do that for you. We have an entire team that does that for organizations right now with amazing success.
Yes.
That's really putting the exclamation point on it. I mean, that is.
Yeah,
It's really
it's
making
funny.
it
I got
easier.
into a lot of the people that, as you would imagine, a lot of the companies that work close to us physically, even in our building, use HR Law Made Easy to get compliant. And as I was coming into the building, I passed an executive who runs HR for another company, and she shared with me that her entire team is watching the handbook presentations for their handbook presentation. And instead of having to read the handbook, the entire organization got together and they're getting to watch the video. And she was smiling ear to ear. She was super excited. She's like, yeah, they're all watching the presentation right now. It's so good. I mean, she obviously previewed it, watched it before they did, but yeah, she was grinning ear to ear because handbooks are normally like these printed documents. Like if you're using like an ADP or a Bambee or a 650 or Paychex, whoever it is, you're getting this physical printed thing that people are supposed to read. They never read it. And then judges often will look at the complexity of it or the fact that nobody reads it, and they'll just throw it in the trash. And then you have to pay anyway. So the handbook presentations are a game-changing way to actually present your policies to people in a video where your people can listen, watch, and they can also read the policy, but to a presenter that walks through this stuff in a very easy to understand way. So anyway, she was super excited about that because she's been doing this for years, and she's for years has dreaded handbooks. It's the worst.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And it's just cool to play a game when everybody knows the rules, right? Like if we want to take this to a smaller level to really get the picture there, like you're not going to sit down and play Uno without knowing the house rules on that.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
can I stack on the +2 cards? Like what are the rules that we're playing by? When everybody has the rules, it's an easier game and it flows better and you have more fun and there's less need for those, little sit downs. Let's dig deep into this and figure out what we missed where. We just all know the rules from the get-go.
And for years, companies have been chasing compliance. Like, companies, you look at a company like Trainual, really cool company. It's a great way to train your people and to visualize the things you want to get into them, into their heads, if you will, and help with onboarding and everything else. But the problem with Trainual is they don't have all the policies. They don't have all the laws. And while you could check the box that you have a cooler way to deliver this stuff, what you don't have is the source material, the starting point, as well as all of the other things you must have to be legally compliant. And of course, then the next question is, well, how do I know what those things are, right? Well, that's the checklist, because the checklists are the starting point. Well, the laws are the starting point, but the checklists get created based on reading the laws. And once you have all the laws, you've read them, you can then have a complete checklist. And then the checklist opens the door and one's awareness finally for the first time that, wow, compliance is more than just a fancy written handbook or Trainual where I've taken my handbook and I made it a little bit better. It's actually presentations in my handbook. It's notices and posters. It's policies and procedures that go beyond the handbook into things like the overtime tracking process or procedure, sound level testing in states that require that, for certain types of businesses that require that, more than just occupational health and safety or OSHA, right, requirements. But we've got that stuff on our platform as well. So it's so far beyond just a handbook or just a few agreements or here's a hiring procedure. It's a comprehensive view of everything that needs to be done. And our platform is the only platform that's brought it all together underneath one roof. And it's, anyway, it's game changing for companies that are finally in. They're like, wow, where has this been? Like, I was paying all this money with ADP and they didn't have any of this stuff. Well, that's because that's not the business. They're not in that business, right? That's not why they exist.
Yeah, even paying a bunch of lawyers separately. Like, let's say you operate in multiple states and you have all these lawyers in different states and stuff like that. You're spending like 5,000 times the amount to get this checklist. And then, is it even right? Was that actually their goal? Did they come together and go, hey, we need a single source of truth for, are we following the law?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we as a team previously did this. I mean, we did this in the area of sales tax compliance in the US and value added tax or VAT, international tax globally. And we were working with the biggest companies on the planet and names like Walmart, Target, Amazon, Starbucks, and others. And they trusted us to get tax right. But that company's success was built on starting with the law And once you have the law, creating checklists, lists of things that need to be done. And then from there, creating tools and information that empowered people to follow those tax laws. Well, that company got sold. We took that same idea, model, principle, and we came into the HR space. And we have a lot of the same team members that were in that previous company in this company. And we're doing the same thing for HR compliance, is that, hey, let's go get all the law, which took us years to do all this, right? Then let's go create these checklists, took us years to do all that. Then let's create these tools and resources that make all of these things you have to do easier to do, more streamlined, more presentable to your people. And it really is a different way to approach HR.
Yeah, absolutely.
A different way, but like, what other way really is there?
It's the best way to approach HR. Absolutely.
Well, it's been awesome hanging out with you guys. I know we're a little bit over time. And Happy New Year. It's
Happy New Year.
yeah. I know within our organization, we focus on care in January as our culture characteristic. And thank you for caring enough about your people to make time to listen to what we had a chat about today. And my hope, or our hope, is that it is in some way useful to you. And definitely hope you have the most amazing of New Year's, and that all of the dreams and goals and things that you decided that you wanted this year come true. And look forward to talking with you here throughout the year in our upcoming podcasts.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thanks,
Happy New
everybody.
Year.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.